EAGC to do introduction for the donor side. Your Excellency, we have from the county government, myself, I am Raymond Komen, the CEC for Trade, Tourism, and Cooperative Development. With us is Engineer Maritime, he's the CEC for Roads and Infrastructure. Your Excellency, with us, we also have members of the Naivasha Municipal Board. We have Absalom, thank you, with his colleagues who are with us outside here. We have the Managing Director for Naivasha Water Company, who is a key partner of ours in this project. That's Mr. Wahome, yes. With us, we also have Mr. Kamau Kuria, who is a member of the committee that we formed and is also a member of the Municipal Board of Nakuru. Your Excellency, I'll invite Mr. Gerald to do an introduction from the private sector side. We also have the manager from Nakuru Municipal Board. Gerald?
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. My name is Gerald Masila. I'm the Executive Director of the Eastern Africa Grain Council. And with us this morning, I have my colleague Janet Mbobalu, who is a Regional Programs Coordinator at EAGC. And we also have our partners from Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, Jaipur School of Architecture and Building Sciences. We have architect Juma Oino, who has been leading the design team. We have Akeche, who is an aspiring architect, graduated but supposed to be an architect. With us also is Betty Kibara, but she's joining us online. I don't know whether she's able to introduce herself. If she has had me online. How is the technology there? So Betty Kibara is the Director Food Initiative, the Rockefeller Foundation, who are supporting us on the Smart Food Markets project solution, and she will be giving her remarks later on online. She was able to be here to share with us today. Bwana CEC, thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Your Excellency, last year in June, we got a letter from the East Africa Grain Council. They had written to several counties inviting for partnerships for a program called Smart Markets for the Future. And we responded. According to EAGC, we are the only county that responded to their request. And they came down to Nakuru. We had meetings with them. And it culminated into a memorandum of understanding last year in October between them, the East Africa Grain Council, and the county government of Nakuru, which you signed with them, where they were going to partner with us to identify markets that they could upgrade into what is called a smart market. Your Excellency, we moved very fast and formed a joint committee of the partners and us, and we the teams that we had created went round with them, the whole county, to identify markets that they could work with us in terms of upgrading it and developing. We give the partners a free hand to identify a project of their choice, and at the end of it, sir, is that they picked 2 projects from our county, and that is the Naivasha Fish Market Land, which, Your Excellency, last year, for the last 3 years, you've been working very hard to purchase the land along the highway at Karai. Sir, the energy you gave us, the pushing that we did in order to attain the land, there was a lot of work that you put in. So they selected that as the first project for what is called the Naivasha Fish Smart Market. Secondly, sir, they also picked, because Nakuru is also a key market, they picked the top market, which we were upgrading, and they picked further items in which they could make the top market a smart market, which I think we shall be moving to launch later in the month. So, Your Excellency, it's been a good journey, and I'm glad just to say that of most of the partnerships that we've had with the donors, the turnaround time was very fast, in that by March this year, they were ready with their designs with the other partners of Jomo Kenyatta University. They submitted to us the drawings, architectural drawings and designs last month in July. And Your Excellency, as per the MOU, we had a waiver for the drawings, which we got them approved. And we are working with them now to get we are the final stage of getting the NEMA approval. And Your Excellency, today we are here. You're here to groundbreak this project. The project is co-financed by the county government and the partners. So really, it is your project, sir. And the partners are here. Just to take you briefly, because we had not had a chance to see what the project entails, they are here just to take us briefly through what it is, and then we shall proceed to the ground to hand over the site where you will hand over the site to the partners and their contractor. Your Excellency, the project is a 5-month project. It's been phased into 2 phases. We are going to launch the first phase, which is at a cost of 80 million. The next phase, the partners, we are having very good discussions advanced that it shall embark immediately after the first phase. So at this juncture, I want to invite Mr. Masila to carry on with the rest of the program.
Thank you very much, Waziri, and again, thank you very much, Your Excellency, Governor. It's a great pleasure to engage with you again today. The last time I sat close to you was, I think, 2 or 3 years back when we visited your office. I was in the company of the board members of the Strategic Food Reserve Oversight Board, where I served as a board member under the chairmanship of Honorable Noah Wekesa, and I represented the private sector in the Strategic Food Reserve Board. We did our work, but later it was disbanded. But that is the last time I remember visiting you in your office, and you gave us, we were also doing the maize task force. And I still remember the engagements you gave us, the interactions, and quite exciting. Your Excellency, as I said earlier on, my name is Gerald Masila. I serve as the Executive Director of the Eastern Africa Grain Council. EAGC is a private sector membership organization for grain value chain stakeholders, and it covers 10 countries in the Eastern Africa region. So here in Kenya is where you have the regional headquarters, and what I head is all the operations in all those 10 countries. And we have our members who are grain farmers, grain traders, grain processors, from all those 10 countries. So registered organizations, so all these millers, the cereal growers, are all members of EAGC. And as an organization, we are in the food security space. We support government, we support stakeholders to ensure that there is good food security. How do we do it? We have a number of interventions that we do. First, we provide market information, because information is very important. When you are a trader, you are a farmer, you are a processor, you need market information. You need to know prices, price trends, you need to know volumes available. And we do this for the entire region of the Eastern Africa through our service, the Regional Agriculture Trade Intelligence Network, where we have market monitors, we have border monitors, we get data, we transmit every day to our members. In the next few minutes, we will be transmitting today's market data. This information, our members use it to make buying, selling decisions, and we support the whole value chain. We also do training and capacity building. We have our institute called the Grain Business Institute, which is registered with NITA, and we offer competency-based trainings on the whole space of grain trade, from post-harvest all the way to trade finance, and all that. Your Excellency, we also do trade linkages. We have a trade platform called the GSOCO, Online Grain Trading. In GSOCO, we have a network of warehouses. Very many are from here in your county, Nakuru, but also they're around the whole country, and in Uganda, Tanzania, Malawi, all these places. And so we work with the farmers to aggregate their produce, and then we have, when they want to sell, they nominate, and it's put in a platform from where buyers bid, and we facilitate those transactions with our clearing and settlement accounts with various banks. And finally, we are in the policy space where we engage very closely with government in providing solutions for the sector. You are aware there is a Warehouse Receipt Systems Council that is in place today. That is a result of EAGC. We came to government with the idea of warehouse receipting, and we even developed the draft act, which eventually was signed. And we are represented in the county, in the council today. In fact, we had a meeting this morning led by your CEC Agriculture, Dr. Immaculate, where we were discussing how we will mobilize stakeholders in Nakuru to be able to utilize warehouse receipting and all that. In the context of today's engagement, Your Excellency, in March last year, we all know COVID hit this country, and actions were taken to see how to minimize this. But immediately it was discovered one of the biggest hotspots in transmitting COVID and other diseases was markets. Obviously, national government took actions, even county governments took actions. But what we observed at that time was that the quickest and easiest knee-jerk reaction was close markets. Any alternative? Some had, some did not. But Nakuru County stood out. It's the only county that did not just close markets, and instead of just closing markets, you came up with alternatives, you came up with solutions. You provided a Furaha space. It was very well done, and all the other controls of movements and all that. But we got together with the Rockefeller Foundation, and we asked ourselves, in the context of the fact that markets are important, because everybody engages with the market every single day. All our food systems, if markets collapse, food will not move from the farmer to the consumers. And so we realized there was a challenge here with our markets, and because it's only at the market where you can know the value of what you have produced, because when you take it to the market and there's a buyer, then you can have your price discovery that eventually says these tomatoes are worth this much, or this bag of grain is worth this much, because of the interaction between the buyers and the sellers. And so we then conceptualized, how about coming with markets that are smart? And then we even asked ourselves, what constitutes a smart market? The immediate issue then was, how do you make sure that when you come to the market, you can do your shopping and go home with the minimum risk of contracting disease or transmitting disease? To do that, the starting point was the designs, the architectural designs of how we design the markets in terms of spacing, the movement, and all those things. And when we did our study, because that was the first thing we did, we carried out a quick study with our partner IDEO.org. And we realized the markets, how they are being designed over years, were not designed with a human-centered concept around, and they were not designed to be able to provide solutions in terms of movement, interactions, and so on and so forth. So architectural bit is what stood out as one of the key things about a smart market. The next issue, Your Excellency, was you need energy in the markets. Electricity has its own challenges. And we then realized that coming up with a green energy solution, solar power and all that, was a very important solution. Issues of post-harvest losses in the market is another thing we all know. We lose a lot of produce post-harvest, sometimes 18-20% in the market, because the storage conditions are not right, and sometimes you don't have the cold chains that are operating. Water, waste, and then getting information. So we came together and conceptualized a smart market, and we wrote to a number of counties, like the CEC says, Nakuru was one of them. We were pleasantly surprised that immediately our letter landed. Within a few days, a response came. We got a call to a meeting. We came, we visited Afuraha and several other places. We continued engaging to conceptualize smart markets together. And long story cut short, Your Excellency, today we are happy that we will be launching the Naivasha Fish Market. How did we get to know even about the Naivasha Fish Market? As we were engaging with your officers, the CEC Trade, and they gave us a good, because that was the second other realization we picked about Nakuru County compared to all the other counties. Nakuru County had a plan for markets. They had a plan for markets, they had put in budgets, they were already doing a lot of renovations in the markets, and put markets with the importance that they deserve. And so it is through that interaction that we got to learn about the plan to settle the hawkers who stand by the side of the road selling the fish, and that already the county government had taken steps to acquire the land, and we then sat together to start designing and so on and so forth. So in today's event, our colleague from the Rockefeller Foundation, Betty, will give remarks online. And then after that, with your permission, Your Excellency, our partners from Jomo Kenyatta University, whom again we've had an MOU from before, and that we worked with through this process in their School of Architecture. And one thing that we are very excited about this process is that it involved students at the university in coming up with the various aspects of the design solutions. And it's been quite rewarding in terms of coming up with homegrown solutions, of course internationally benchmarked, but that work very well. And so at this juncture, and in the interest of time and with your permission, Your Excellency, I'd like to invite Betty Kibara to introduce herself and to say a few remarks, after which we will then present to you what it is that we have come up in consultation with your team. That will be the Naivasha Smart Market, the Naivasha Smart Fish Market. And so, Betty, if you can hear me, and if our tech team can please put her on so that she can give quick remarks and address Your Excellency, the Governor. Betty? I think it's... So we'll just get technology fixed. Betty, there's a delay in the transmission, so just give us a minute. We get you on. Yeah? We tell her to unmute. Okay, Betty, we are being asked to ask you to unmute your microphone and do a test. Should we switch this one off? Okay. Do we switch off this one that is talking here? Betty, can you try talking now? Okay, give us the sound for Betty. Yes, Betty, proceed.
Okay, that's fine. So, Honorable Lee, the Governor of Nakuru County, and Jared Masila, the Executive Director of Eastern African Grain Council, and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for facilitating our market participation. My name is Betty Kibara, I'm a director at the Rockefeller Foundation. And on behalf of the Rockefeller Foundation, we appreciate the opportunity to participate in today's meeting. And we had a lot of discussions between Nakuru for the signing of the MOU. And, thereafter we had a couple of decisions the cultural organization is. We are a private foundation with a vision to promote the well-being of humanity and make opportunities universal. And we have been in existence for more than 180 years, and in Kenya we have been here since 1966, so we are really not new in the sector. And overall, Your Excellency, our areas of focus include scaling up renewable energy for all. We also stimulate economic mobility and also ensure equitable access to health and nutritious foods. And most recently, of course, we've been very instrumental in supporting devolution in Africa. And we're also doing some interesting work in advancing insect-based feeds in particular.
Because we can't hear her. Any other way? Sorry, Betty, we can't hear you. Can you hear me? So I think we can proceed with the. Yes, yes. Okay. Yes. All right. So sorry, Betty, we have a technical challenge. So we will. Governor has just confirmed he will give us an opportunity to meet him in his office or in Nairobi or in Nakuru to further engage. But for now, we're really sorry technology failed us. So we'll proceed with the process of the presentation now by the Jomo Kenyatta University. Apologies, Governor, for the technical hitch. Please, now I invite Architect Juma Oino to present to you the architecture work that we are going to put up in Naivasha. Thank you. Karibu.
Kinyanjui and the entire team from the county government of Nakuru, which is my adopted home. I originally come from Kisii, but now I was negotiating with your constituents that they need to negotiate with me to transfer my vote to Nakuru since I became a resident about 10 years ago. Team from EAGC and all guests, my name is Evans Juma Oino, architect from the School of Architecture and Building Sciences, JKUAT. With me here is Collins Akeche. Akeche is my third generation student. Between him and I have another member of the team who couldn't make it today because he is on another engagement in Kendube and he couldn't come for this session. But we endeavor to ensure that the cascading of knowledge is continuous all the way down to the public. First, let me say how glad we are to be part of this. When we were first approached by EAGC through an MOU which existed between JKUAT and them, we were very pleased that we could show our expertise. And we've been working closely from right about September last year to a stakeholder engagement which happened, this was 11th December 2020 in the neighborhood with a sub-county team. And we were pleasantly surprised that actually there was a site that existed that they would have liked us to take part in developing a proposal. So we went about reviewing the climatic analysis of the zone. Clearly, of course, when we want to design, we want to align our designs to the environment. And since we are talking about smart systems, the renewable energy concepts, the areas around sustainable development, then we have to really respond to the climate. So we did that. We had a brief, very ambitious, of what we needed to accommodate on a 2-acre piece of land. As you can see, a market, common spaces for traders, blah, blah, parking area, walkways, smart energy solutions, drainage, photovoltaic energy, changing rooms. And we also developed a schedule from December, and we were envisaging that by end of March, we were going to break ground. Clearly, we are still on that path, and I think today is a major milestone. If you look at March and today, in terms of government processes, public processes, I think this is a great achievement. Ordinarily, in projects that I've engaged in, they take years. Then we went through the design process, conceiving the idea. Since it was a fish market, we thought we could abstract from fish the concept of fluidity and flow in terms of form. We also thought in terms of structure we could abstract from the skeleton of the fish, because after you consume, this is what you see. So the whole process from origin to consumption. Then we went about analyzing circulation in those sketches. How do we ensure free-flowing movement through the site? We have the Nakuru-Nairobi highway. This is Nairobi side, that's Nakuru. There is a slip road, which is under construction, I think, by the sub-county government. And our thoughts were that since we are creating another node on the Karai side, to match what is happening, or to even be better than what is happening at Delamere, the flow should be one direction. And we have the vehicular access, we have pedestrian in those small dots, we have the public and private bus circulation in green, which is, I don't know whether it's visible clearly. And the whole idea is that buses park on the edge and they can drive out. Small vehicles and motorist circulation in dotted, and we have parking there, we have parking here, and we have additional parking here, which also we thought we could use for small trucks and van deliveries. Next. We went about abstracting that into form, and we made various sketch models in our studies. As you can see, the stages is towards the growth. We still try to maintain the model of the fish, to develop the form in terms of structure and form. Next. And then we went about planning, spatial arrangement, in the same shape, curvilinear shape. We thought we could arrange stalls in the radiating manner, and originally we thought we could have an open space in the middle, which is multi-purpose, which was still under discussion, and we thought then it could be an open market space. Let's go back. Then at the end here, we thought we could do stores, dry stores and cold stores. We also proposed a waste management plant at the end there, and sanitary station, toilets and the related facilities at this end, so that they are also accessible from the highway. And then initially we had a mezzanine floor. You go up a ramp and you have another space at the mezzanine level to create more stores and office space or office spaces for the market management. Next. These are just details of the sanitation and COVID compliance center. That's what I was taught as the new terminology. Complete with heated water supply and just go back. Children changing areas. If you look carefully, you will see some areas for mothers, nursing or mothers with babies to change their kids. We had a elaborate waste management plant at 3 levels, from the basement, 2 basements, floors, up to the ground level, and this was to process waste on site. The idea was that nothing, in the spirit of the smart market system, nothing comes out of here if it's not either usable or can be recycled or taken elsewhere for further use. So the detailing of this was ongoing, but with budgeting, we stalled it at that point. But it would be a good idea to have this smart processing plant developed sometime in the future. Next. In terms of form, again, originally, from the idea of the fish, our thoughts were that since it's a strategic site, and you are coming down from Kinungi, you have an aerial view of the site, and you have a worm's eye view of the site. So the concept of the fish, the skeleton, and when you consume the fish, inevitably, you have to engage with the eye of the fish. That informed the dome construction or form in that manner. And the whole idea is in the dome structure to allow for free space internally, as we are going to see in our fly-through soon. But the whole idea is to give it a more commanding site, a sense of space, and it's an attraction. I mean, everybody, we are saying that even if it's a market, it gives it a sense of place and identity. And you have a daytime view and a nighttime view. If we had all the budgets, I think if we achieve this, it will be a major statement along that highway. Next. And of course, these are various engagements at JKUAT, at EAGC presentations and stakeholder participation in discussion. This was in Kuru County at Grand Winston Hotel. Further engagements with the Smart Markets Committee of Nakuru County, chaired by Honorable David Kuria, my classmate. If he has never told you, at least I can confirm that he went to school. Yeah, and then we worked on a budget. Initial budget was coming to about 479 million. And of course, this is where the rubber meets the road. And when we get here, everybody swings the seats backwards and says, wow, so okay, where is this budget coming from? But upon further engagement in terms of what is available at Rockefeller Foundation, EAGC, and what could come from the county government in the current financial year, we decided that we can descope, yeah, and create some phases. And we thought, first let's reduce the civil works because we had a major road running through the site, omit the waste management plant, reduce the stores, the dome size, we also reduced it, omit the mezzanine floor, limit vehicle access to the front only. Next. Yeah. Provide a borehole and associated infrastructure, make provision for optimization of solar harvesting and rainwater harvesting. And we went back to the drawing board and began again from the first principles. Access only to vehicular access, only to the front. All this, we thought if we create a boundary wall, we could create more stores along the boundary. And in keeping with the first mission to maintain the dome, albeit not too articulated as originally, but to keep the language moving. And of course, we went back to study to create some sheds around the dome in terms of concept, and these are all developments of it. We thought we could introduce a waste collection area, an emergency area for fire and ambulance. Then we thought we could also add some services area, Huduma Center and the likes. And we also were talking about e-mobility to charge the motorbikes and tuk-tuks, so that all this, since we have a road reserve on this edge, all this space is oriented outwards, so that the services are really towards the outside, and we only allow the inside for a market space, and keep at least one or two, a dry store and a cold store. And we did exploration of the structure of the sheds, if you go back, in terms of, one more, yeah, in terms of how do we create the shed below, solar panels above, which create shelter for the traders below. And as you are going to see next slide, in that structure, we could create stalls in a regular grid to supplement stalls on the edges. And this concept of the shaded area is replicated in a radial manner to maintain the original idea. And of course, all these are exploratory notes on these discussions. The reds are there and the budgets are here. so that if we want to implement this in phases, after descoping, we can then choose which segments to implement first and which segments to follow later. And after descoping, you see the budget reduced by more than half from the original 479 or 489 or thereabout. And so at this stage, I think after further engagement, we were all saying, yes, we are ready to move forward. We have a budget from the donor of about 70 million, which we could utilize, and there was a budget from the county government, I think about, okay, I'm not supposed to mention that, but I think that is the government side, which has already been tendered. And if we put those resources together, at least we can have something to show for all the effort. So, Your Excellency, I think moving forward, we are saying that we are able to implement a project worth about 80-90 million, and we should be able to have something on site in about 5 months. Then before we even move into electioneering mode, we should be there launching the project and probably handing over to the stalls to the vendors. All solar panels on top and collect rainwater in the valleys. This is what this would look like, but from the elevation, we still maintain some simple character so that for those students of conservation know that if it's a protected heritage site, we cannot change much. We try as much as possible to retain it up to 70% of the facades. But on the inside, we are allowed to make some interventions to make the space functional. Internally, now this is, if we manage to do stall pods, because our project also includes design of these standardized stall pods, the vendors, all of them are supposed to get a standard stall pod. So that this smart concept is continuous, and once you walk into that market, you feel like this space is organized, it's clean, food handling or meets the standards of the public health. The volume allows for adequate air circulation, so the volume per person, air volume per person is within acceptable limits. And then, of course, repaint the walls, the external surfaces, to make them look modern. For top market, I think this is what Rockefeller was offering. I'm not so sure how far these discussions are ongoing, so these ones I leave to Gerald and the donors and CEC. Honorable Comment, I'm sure you are in discussion on this, but yes, Your Excellency, that was our design. We are going to show you some fly-throughs so that you can appreciate in terms of the third dimension.
Thank you very much, Gerald, and the team from Jomo Kenyatta University on the presentation. Excellency, this is just to confirm that after this, we shall be proceeding to the site handing over. And without further ado, sir, I want to invite you to give your remarks. Karibu sana.
Okay. So thank you very much, our CC Comment, and allow me to take this opportunity to acknowledge our partners, led by the Executive Director of EAGC, Gerald Masila, the Director Food Initiative, Betty Kibara, who's with us online, and on behalf of JKUAT, we have Architect Juma together with your team, and our municipal boards, both Naivasha, Nakuru, and our CECs who are hereby present. I think you've said much of everything. Mine would only be in way of a thank you for the collaboration, for the initiative, and more so for coming up with this sort of consortium where you have the university, you have the county, you have the Grain Council, you have the Rockefeller, all these players working together to solve a problem that afflicts all of us. And I think this partnership must be seen with fresh eyes, particularly also when you remember that a lot of our universities have the best manpower, but their interaction with the outside world has remained very minimal. And it is for that reason that some of the designs you've shown us here for the markets are just the way they are. Because we train people, we leave them at the university, then the practitioners do not have the benefit of modern technology, modern designs, and all these other issues. So I think this collaboration is the beginning of greater things to come. And just to confirm, I think in years gone by, there was a lot of collaboration between universities in the areas of design. I'm not too sure, but buildings like even Lillian Towers were done by people who are doing architecture at the University of Nairobi back in the days. So I think it's really important that we enhance our collaboration, and I want also to confirm, even here in Nakuru, we are just going for private consultants, and I think it's also possible to strike a working engagement with the university and ask them to help us in some of the designs and possibly also supervision. And that, one of the good things about people who are young in their practice, they're also liberal in their thoughts. And they want to try up new ideas and designs, and I think we've seen it all here. I'm also happy to note the role of the private sector through the EAGC, mainly because in the past we have tended to leave certain roles for government or quasi-government institutions or counties for that matter. And in the process, those things are left out. But the truth is that government cannot do everything. They have as far as they can reach. But I think in collaboration with private sector, we can be able to achieve much, much more. And I see this partnership as a testimony of that fact. And to confirm also some of the challenges that have been there, including the cost of living, which is cited many times. So the cost of living, which includes mainly food, keeps going up. But as long as a lot of food is wasted due to poor storage techniques, due to poor recycling, due to lack of cold storage, then it means the little that finally gets consumed has to bear the cost of what has gone to waste. And therefore, you find people now saying that the cost of living is getting higher, is becoming unbearable. But the truth is we can be able to manage the cost of living by managing our entire food chain, the supply chain within our food sector, reduce the waste, ensure that food gets well. And even when the waste is not there, we have also found that food can be managed in a manner that it actually invites other bigger challenges, mainly health-related challenges. And these health challenges could be as simple as maybe sanitation-related diseases. But it is also true that in certain instances, we have found that how certain grains are handled can also lead to a higher infusion of chemicals such as aflatoxin. And I recall in the year 2019, we had a report on how prevalence of aflatoxin across the whole country, and you begin to see certain regions have very higher markers. And that makes our food very dangerous. And I think it is also good to confirm that for serious diseases such as cancer, we have found that areas with high aflatoxin content tend to record high stomach cancer incidence. So there are serious long-term challenges associated with poor handling of our food, and also those that are short-term. But I think the point we're trying to say is that if we don't deal with some of these issues, then we should not be shocked that some of these challenges continue to be with us. I'm also happy to note that when the COVID came, one of the biggest new terminology we learned was the issue of social distance. In markets where stalls are back to back with each other, where the air spaces, the markets were not done in conformity with the sort of aeration that is now recommended under COVID protocols, it was obvious that markets as previously constructed would not be able to accommodate and have the markets run without risking both the traders and also the buyers. So I think for this market, and I think other future markets that are going to be built, and not just markets, I guess any other public infrastructure, even hospitals, even schools, even bus stops and train stations, we must bear in mind the possibility of a pandemic such as we have had and how it can be affected if we do not design in conformity with the provisions of free air movement, people not touching things as they come by, and so on and so forth. I'm also happy to note that the issue of a smart market incorporates solar panels and all those. And one of the challenges we've had is the cost of running markets. And public projects are very good because at the point of inauguration and commissioning and handing over to the community, there are many photos and good speeches, but there are many projects you commission and a year down the road you come, they are no longer moving. They could not pay their water bills. They could not pay their electricity bills. They could not pay their security. So it is important that when you're designing public projects, that we would rather even incur a slightly higher cost at the development stage, but the cost of maintenance must be low. Because sometimes because of the organizational nature of some of the people operating at that level, to tell them to contribute to do some of those maintenance things, to pay a bill, becomes a big challenge. And before long, a very well-designed market with everything, you come and you find it is in total darkness. So I think the issue of making good use of solar and ensuring water is harvested and all those green solutions that are there becomes very integral to future planning on sustainability and also helping our people at those levels. I'm also keen to note that when it comes to our markets, they are probably some of the most frequented or trafficked places, maybe second to hospitals. My view is that maybe over 50,000 people will visit our markets across the whole of Nakuru. It could be a small market with 500 stalls. It could be a big one like Wakulima Market, but every day you have such a high traffic. So what that simply means is that from a life-changing perspective, if therefore you wanted to touch all those people, with one simple market, you can be able to change the lives of very many people. The impact in their lives, the positive working environment. I think really, and this actually explains why we are very interested in markets. Because it's not possible for us to employ everybody, but we believe we can create environments where they can employ themselves and grow and even get to the next level. As you can imagine, in the small and medium enterprise environment, people require to borrow little money here and there. But if you are a mobile hawker who I'm not too sure where I will find tomorrow, if you're on the highway selling fish, and I don't know where to find you tomorrow, I'm less likely to lend you money than had I known you're in stall number 48, and whichever day I come, I'll find you there. So the moment you also give them an address and a location, you're also encouraging them to enter both into options, including financing, that eventually would help them to boost their income, to boost their businesses, and eventually we can be able to employ a lot of the people who are otherwise restless. The concept of a fish market around Naivasha on the main highway It's a matter we've discussed for a long time with our teams, and it was born out of the fact that, we say a market is made of three factors: the buyer, the seller, and the commodity to trade, to exchange. So the physical market is actually an addition, but the actual market is the existence of those three things. So do we have people who want to sell? Yes. When you drive across the highway, there are people holding fish, and I am personally very anxious because fish is supposed to be frozen. So the moment you allow that fish to be held in normal room temperature, then it means we are also compromising public health precautions. And that therefore you lead to wastage of even the very same fish. Do we have buyers? Yes. Every now and then you'll see people stopping there and wanting to buy. But if the parking is not right, it's unlikely I'll want to stop, because I will imagine my car can be banged behind. The police can come and say you're stopping in undesignated places. And then thirdly, also safety issues. So again, we can confirm that they are buyers, but they are unable to stop because they are not too sure whether their safety and the safety of what they are buying is in order. Do we have people who are willing to sell? Yes, we see them every day we pass there. So we have all that it takes to create a market. So I think what really is therefore necessary is for us now as government and other non-government agencies to come together, give our people opportunity to do business, and also to help them in value addition. And I want to confirm that if you look at a typical person going from Nakuru to Nairobi, or Eldoret to Nairobi, Kisumu to Nairobi, if in their mind they know they can stop in Naivasha, have a good meal, rest for 5-10 minutes, they will plan their journey with that in mind. So we can do, beyond just selling the fish, we can cook the fish, we can package it, we can debone the fish, we can do many things around the fish whole infrastructure. But as I've said in the past, we are always embarrassed. Sometimes when you visit some of our fish traders, and you find fish here, the average cost of fish per kilo, I don't know how much it is. What's the cost of fish per kilo if you have to buy? It's more than beef. Is that the case? Huh?
Yes, it is.
How much? So it's actually more than beef. But the beef farmer has had to graze this animal to feed it, take it to the vet, do all those things, and gets less per kilo compared to a guy who went, fished, and brought it here. So ordinarily, I've always thought that because the input cost for the fish trader is low, they should be very rich people. But that is a fallacy. That is a fallacy. There is a very huge disconnect in the food chain, so that when you go and see the fish farmers, whether they're in Kisumu, wherever they are the poor of the poor. That fish you eat, maybe what actually goes to that actual trader is less than 20%. The other 80% goes to the person who goes with that truck, takes that fish, and takes it there. So I think we also need to bring efficiency in our food supply chain so that some trades such as fishing do not become synonymous with poverty. That dealing with fish, which I said in my opinion, the input cost is very low, should not be synonymous with poverty. And I think these are conversations we need to have with our people, especially in the fish industry, and more so to ensure that we encourage them to grow and break some of those barriers that have been there. We are also particularly disturbed by import of fish. I'm sure you've heard of fish from China. And I think government has also to act, a bit responsible. There is no way you can allow fish and onions. The area I'm going to visit today in Kinongi is one of the biggest producers of onions. So if you're going to tell those farmers that they cannot access the market, because somebody has brought onions, then I think the people or our gatekeepers in the international trade arena are also failing us in a big way. So we also need to protect our farmers because we don't create wealth by shipping out work that you now pay farmers from China and other places, while your own farmers are incurring losses. So I think there needs to be a broader conversation to ensure that our farmers are protected. And where there's a deficit, if we calculate and say that we can only provide 80% of the internal demand, then we can import in a clear, structured way. But there's no way, when we know for sure we are able to meet our onion demand, our fish, we can be able to meet the demand, that we allow some of those unscrupulous traders and business people to come and render our business people and our farmers destitute. So I want to end it there, and indeed once again to thank you for your time and also for the cooperation that we have seen so far. And I want to confirm through Komen, our CC, that we'll have more engagements on what we can do as a county, even in terms of increasing participation in the co-financing arrangement so that we can achieve more. And also to have a model market in this partnership model, because sometimes it is good to have some of these 3Ds on PowerPoint, but I think it is better when you tell people, let's go to Naivasha and see what we did. Thank you all, and may God bless you.
So, Your Excellency, yourself and Gerald, we have made this model, and I want to say that this model is made by our students. And EAGC assisted paid them. And I think they were very excited, and this is something we want to go on with. And I want to also say it's the 10th model. From the sketch models that you saw, this was model number 10. There is a bigger one that is 1.5 meters by 1.5 meters wide, which even when you want to transport, we have to get a low loader. So you will need a big hall one of these days to display it, but I think they're enjoying the display of that, the original, not this one. So I'll invite you to unveil this model, and so that we mark this occasion.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gerard. The governor will switch it on.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, that is how it's going to look like in real life. We hope that we can procure a good contractor to achieve good workmanship with simple construction.